All right, we are starting a new year, a new semester, and a brand new Talking with Friends podcast. Hope everybody has had a happy new year, a happy holiday season. It's good to be back on campus. I am Sports Information Director Levi Converse, and alongside me, as always, getting her a drink of her Dr. Pepper from McDonald's,
Yes.
is my assistant SID, Morgyn Raspberry. Morgyn, how's it going?
Oh, it's going, kind of excited, but also not too excited that school's starting back up next week. But at the same time, it's a huge blessing that we're starting to figure out different things due to the whole COVID guidelines and everything, and that this semester is hopefully going to be better than last semester for all of us on campus and sports-wise as well. So kind of excited about how this year is going to go.
Yeah, and you're getting ready to jump back into some volleyball here pretty soon.
I am.
You're excited. You're ready to go.
I've been out since August, and
Yep.
it's going to be nice to finally get back out on the court. Still not fully released, but it's still going to be nice to get back out on the court and at least do something again.
Yep. Every step is progress.
Yes.
And you'd rather be making progress than regressing. So
That's true, because for a sec I thought I was going to have to go backwards. But
Yeah. No, it's all forward from here, right?
yes, all forward from here, though.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got sports back on campus here, starting back as we start this new semester. Women's basketball is in action Wednesday night. They fell to a really, really good McPherson team, 78-60. Brittany Roberts with an amazing performance from McPherson. If you didn't see the stats or watch the game, 25 rebounds, 21 points. Just really, really good team, well-coached team. Tomorrow, the women's basketball Falcons are back in action at home against Bethel College. Tip-off is at 1 o'clock. As everybody knows, no fans are allowed at this time due to the county restrictions.
Yep.
But you can watch it all live on our live stream portal.stretchinternet.com/friends. Tip-off is at 1 o'clock p.m. We will be bringing it to you, and we'll be covering it for you. So hope you tune in there. And then Monday night, women's basketball is right back at home again. They're making up a couple games, a couple postponements from last semester. They'll be hosting Southwestern College. Friday night tip-off for that is at 6 p.m. So that will also lead into the men's basketball Falcons return to the court. Wednesday night, we'll have a doubleheader, a KCAC doubleheader with Bethany College here. Tip-offs is at 6 p.m. and then 8 p.m. for the guys. So a lot of home games coming up, a couple of makeups mixed in there along with the regular season schedule. We're happy games are going on, though. We're happy we're back. And we hope everything is able to be played as scheduled. So, a lot of basketball coming up right here.
Yep. I also know that baseball and softball, they're starting to get back into action all over again. I want to say they began practicing this week, but I could be so wrong. I know for a fact they're starting next week if it's not this week. But so I know that all of them are extremely excited about that. I've talked to one of the softball girls here recently, and they're excited about it, and I'm excited for them because, hopefully they can actually continue this year and be able to play the whole entire year, unlike last year, sadly. And same with baseball. I'm sure they're super thrilled as well, getting to finally get back out on the field and start making some things happen for them.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's already been a weird and a different season. It was a different fall semester as well. It's carried right over into basketball. But if you think it's been different before, so far, you've not seen anything yet.
Yeah.
It's going to be, the spring semester that we're currently in is going to be as different as any of us has ever been in. We're going to have football going on in March. We're going to have volleyball going on about the same time. We're going to have a few soccer matches mixed in. And in addition to our normal baseball and softball schedule with track and field. So.
And golf still going on,
too. Women's golf will be going on. We added men's golf for next year. That will take effect next year. Women's golf will be going on as well. Men's, women's tennis. So every sport in the spring, just about every sport that can be played on campus is going to be played in the spring.
Yes. It's going to be a very interesting and busy time for probably all of us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's super exciting. I'm just glad that we're able to do it. It'll be a struggle at times, but we got plenty of people to help out to make sure that this happens accordingly.
And you're one of them. So.
Oh man, this is gonna be an interesting ride.
You get to be one of them. You'll be putting all the skills you've learned so far into practice for the spring. So, but it'll be all right. We'll get it done.
Shoot, I'm just nervous that I'm going to have a volleyball game away while we're having a baseball or softball game at home. So then I really can't do anything, or we might have both. And then maybe on top of that, like basketball or some crap like that. I don't know. You never know what's going to happen right now.
Yeah.
So this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. No need to put any more fear into me or anyone else. That's already there. So we're trying to be positive. But we're trying to. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. It's going to be different for us. So,
yeah.
A lot to look forward to. A lot happening. We'll get it going, and looks like we've done everything. We'll get through all of it together, and it's going to be an exciting time, and it'll be unique. We'll be talking about this year for a long time in the future. This whole school year is going to be talked about. And it's going down in the history books.
I believe so. Yeah,
it's going down in the history books for sure. So. Big news on campus yesterday. Head coach Dale Faber stepping down officially at the end of this year. He's retiring from coaching. He's going to be transitioning into a fundraising role, and it's just got a lot of. It's been very evident after we announced this that just how recognized and how popular, just how many people Coach Faber has really impacted here in his time in Wichita. He's a Wichita hometown coach. He talked like he liked staying here throughout his whole career in the area. He coached Bishop Carroll before he coached here, and he also had a tenure as an assistant coach at Wichita State. And he's wrapping up his coach career effective at the end of the season. He's still coaching the rest of the year. Then he's retiring, and he got a lot of recognition yesterday from a lot of people, a lot of former players, former coaches that started under him. And he's been fun to watch, and he's definitely going to be missed. That's the big news. Head coach Dale Faber. It's all over social media, all over the news, the media, that he will be stepping down. We announced yesterday, so kind of bittersweet. We're going to miss him coaching, but we're also happy he's staying with the department, and he's going to help with fundraising. He'll have a lot of success there too. So that's a lot of big news here on campus as we start this semester out.
For sure.
So moving on again. Tomorrow, tip-off 1 o'clock p.m. Bethel College will be here. Tune in. Women's basketball Falcons hosting Bethel College. No fans allowed, but you can watch online. portal.stretchinternet.com/friends. So that's our campus stuff going on right now. How's your new year going, Morgan? I mean, how's this? Semester starts next week, so how's everything going on your end?
I mean, for me personally, I think that so far, I know it's still pretty early, and I don't want to jinx anything, but it's so far been a fairly decent year for me. I know it once again, still early though. You never know. Thank you, Scott, for knocking on wood for me. But so far, it hasn't been too horrible. I mean, I got released to finally start practicing again. Not fully, but I'm able to start hitting and doing all different kinds of stuff again, so I'm really, really excited about that, which has been good for me. Finally getting back into a routine again, because trust me, it's been like days I've just laid around in bed because I didn't have a routine and I didn't really want to do anything, so we just never did, and it's been kind of boring and awful. It feels like we've just been quarantined all over again. But so it's starting to get back into a routine as we started to, actually as start of New Year's Day, we started getting back into a routine, and that was really nice to do. So, I mean, it hasn't been too horrible yet. I mean, personally wise, yeah, it hasn't been too horrible.
Hey, we're going to cling to that. Not too horrible.
That's
going to be
horrible.
That and for some people in 2020, that's actually a really good start.
I know, right?
That 2021 is not too horrible.
It has not been extremely horrible.
That's your motto.
It hasn't been
Just keep it not
but
too
it's
horrible.
not been terrible. So.
Just let that be your motto. Not too horrible.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, at the beginning of even last year, at the beginning of 2020, everybody was probably okay, it's not too bad, right? And then all of a sudden, bam! So now I'm okay, I'm just gonna stick with it's not too horrible. So
that's what we're gonna go with. That's what we're gonna go with. What we talked about as we start the new year, new semester, we talked about kind of going over some of the good moments that we had on campus last year for the whole year.
Yeah.
And if anyone out there has any other moments that we don't get to, I'm sure we won't get to all of them, but use hashtag talking with friends, and we'd love to discuss that as well.
Yeah.
But obviously we just hit on it, but a big moment just to start the year is head coach Coach Faber stepping down. That's a big, he's been here in his 18th season now.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of been a staple here, so that's a big thing to start off this semester. Then we also, the addition of the men's and women's wrestling programs and the restart of the men's golf program has really gave a jolt to campus.
Yeah.
It really blew up on social media, both sports and getting announced. People's excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, people like new things coming, kind of change coming like that. That's something to kind of look forward to next year.
Yeah, and that was kind of a highlight to 2020 as well, because it started to kind of like be a transition into, okay, we have something positive going into the brand new year, and it's like a whole new beginning for just so much chaos, if you want to say, in a way, going on in the previous year. So now we have something to officially look forward to, and it's nice here on campus because that actually gets a lot of the students excited as well, because it's something more, because we all like to support each other, we really do. So this is just another thing that we're able to support each other in, and it's just really going to be a huge change coming into the brand new year, even though I think they're starting in fall is when that's all going to happen, right? Yeah. But that's something that a lot of people can look forward to.
It starts next year. Yeah, it's starting next year. Another big moment for me in our administration was Rob getting named the KCAC Athletic Director of the Year.
Yeah.
I love putting that release together, covering that. Rob's just done a fantastic job for all of us, for the entire department, especially leading through this, troubled water, strange time that we're in. But, he's been phenomenal before that, and I'm really, really happy for him. There's no one more deserving than that. And his vision for this department and this university is just really, really good, and just continues to get better. So I think that was a big moment for all of us, a big moment for me. And then, it's not necessarily a great moment, but it has to be a historical moment with when COVID shut things down. Because we were talking about in March, you and I were right in the middle of this when it happened. I mean, it was like on a Wednesday night, we had just started getting ready to move our Pick Slot live stream to baseball. And basketball had wrapped up.
We were doing all different kinds of things, like just kind of like moving on.
We had completed the softball tournament. You worked there. Yep. And we was getting ready to move the live stream to baseball. And it was on a Wednesday evening. We used in my office. We talked about it. We looked at it. We just discussed how we was going to do it. And Wednesday night, COVID was just kind of an afterthought. We didn't even. I think we talked about it. We didn't even really think about it. And then from Wednesday night and then Friday morning, here in my office, and we were in the middle of postponing the season. Suspending the season. That's how quick it went from Wednesday night to Friday. It went from an afterthought to Friday morning, everything is suspended.
Yep.
And that's how quick things went down. I mean, it was just crazy. It's unprecedented. We've never had it before.
It was just day and night difference, and that, I know that put a lot of bummer to a whole lot of people, especially on campus. And that, I couldn't tell you how many athletes were upset about all of this happening, and none of us wanted to move to online courses, because who really and truly wants to actually do that, whenever you just went on to in person and then straight up online. It's a huge transition. It doesn't seem like it would be, but it's a pretty big transition, and a lot of people didn't like it. But a positive to that is that a lot of people got used to it in the fall. So, like, this past semester, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because we were still able to connect with each other and still have somewhat of an in-person touch, but it was still different. So I'm kind of glad that we were able to hopefully move on from that and stick to in-person. But that huge difference, that's literally like just being thrown a major curveball that you were not expecting.
And it come out of nowhere. It just happened so fast. I mean, we went from 0 to 150 overnight. That Wednesday night when I got home, when we talked Wednesday,
Yeah.
it happened Wednesday night, and the NBA suspended their season that night.
Yeah.
Because I went and got something at Walmart, and the Thunder were going to tip off against the Utah Jazz. It was getting ready for the playoff push, and I was getting ready to watch the game, and I had heard Rudy Gobert had an illness that day of the center for the Utah Jazz. He had an illness, and my first thought there, and I wasn't. I mean, some people was teasing like, "Oh, I bet you it's Corona. I bet you it's coronavirus," and no one knew for sure. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if he's going to be out, then that enhances the Thunder's chances of winning. And it was the Thunder were in the playoffs, so I'm thinking, okay, that's it's a big game. If they won that game, they'd have been the 4th seed in the West. They moved into the 4th spot, and I'm thinking, okay, well, that may give the Thunder a little bit of advantage. Hopefully, it's nothing too bad. Well, I get home, and they just supposedly would have tipped off, and I get a notification that the game had been delayed.
Yeah.
And no one knew for sure what was going on then. When the game's delayed, you're thinking something bad's happened. Like, I remember in 2002, I was kind of a kid, but I remember in 2002, in baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals game was delayed against the Chicago Cubs, and we didn't know what it was. It was delayed. No one knew. And I didn't think anything about it at the time. Well, then the next thing I hear is Cardinal pitcher Darryl Kyle was found dead in a hotel room.
Oh.
It was just a tragedy.
Wow.
And so now, every time a game's delayed without warning, like if it's not weather-related, you're thinking the worst. You're thinking, okay, something bad's happened. Well, then it goes on about an hour, and they come out and announce the game is postponed.
Yeah.
And again, no one really knew what was going on. The players were literally at center court ready to tip off. They were on the court ready to tip off, and a medical trainer with the Thunder comes running out, and it gets the players off the court.
Mm-hmm.
And it waited around for a while longer, and they wound up postponing it. And then it comes out Rudy Gobert has the coronavirus. And then it comes out that, it's not an hour later that you get a tweet from Woj, a Woj bomb. If you know the NBA, everyone knows what a Woj bomb is. The NBA has suspended its season. And there's as a highlight where Mark Cuban at the Mavericks game, he looks at his phone.
I was watching that.
Yeah.
I was watching it on TV.
Yeah. That's Scott, our my GASID here. He's here with us. Yeah. We were watching, and he finds out with everybody else. He's like, wow, Woj tweets the NBA has suspended its season. And the 9:30 game on ESPN was getting ready to start. And they come on the court. They were on the court 1-up, and then they get called off, and the NBA suspended its season completely. That's how quick it happened Wednesday night.
Yeah.
It's something that we're going to talk about forever, as long as we're on Earth. I'm serious. It's the most crazy thing that happened.
I just love how it went from kind of being like not necessarily a joke because we knew it was serious, but like. At least over here in the United States, we never thought, okay, like, it's not that big of a deal until it officially hit everywhere here. But I love how it did kind of go to, like, a joke at first. It was kind of like, oh, okay, COVID, like, air quote, COVID. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, this is, like, really hardcore affecting everything now. And so, like I said, it was a huge curveball that no one expected really to happen. It
was crazy, and it's something that we're always going to remember. It's a flashpoint in time. It's what it is. It's a flashpoint in time.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, we're going over the moments of the year here, and it's not that it's a good thing, but it's a historical moment.
Yeah.
And when we postponed the sports here, everybody kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And you were in my office right as the NAI broke it, basically, and I had to break it on our end. You had to be right in the middle of it. And like I said, we were right in the middle of it from the start.
Yeah, I was one of the first few people to hear about
you're
it. But that was just because I was there.
For me. You're the first for me because I hadn't even posted it yet.
Yeah, it's just because I was there.
Yeah. And then I'm starting to post it, and I'm seeing the tweets from our players, and the baseball and softball players are just heartbroken. And this is going on because we suspended it. But we all kind of had a bad feeling it was not going to be restarted. We didn't officially announce that at the end to start with, but we kind of knew it was inevitable. And
I also remember us talking about how, like, oh, no, we don't think that we're going to, like, officially, like, cancel everything. Like, I remember, like, we had a feeling about it, but at the same time, it was, like, we had a discussion. It was, I think it was right before it officially got suspended.
Yeah.
That we were talking about how that, no, we don't think it's really going to affect us that much. Because at least in Kansas, we didn't have any cases at the time, I think.
No, we hadn't. When we postponed it, we
Yeah.
hadn't, because we was in a chapel, and this is another weird thing, too. We was in the chapel getting briefed on everything the day before we officially postponed it. And we hadn't had any case. You're right, we didn't have any case here in Wichita. And I don't believe in Kansas at all. I know we didn't have it in Wichita.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we didn't. But we knew it was going to probably be postponed. And I'm following a Big East game. It was St. John's and Creighton. And we talked about this, Scott, earlier this week, didn't we? You were doing the same thing I was doing.
We were watching it on a laptop.
I was on my phone following it. And because for some reason I knew that maybe the last game in a long time we actually get to follow.
As soon as they tipped that off, we said that was probably the last game of the year. So.
Yeah. So we had to, I had to follow it just to get something of a game, because I remember the night before that, softball was actually playing on Wednesday night when everything broke. Or actually, it was on Thursday when everything broke. It was on Thursday. It was a tournament at McPherson. Mm-hmm. And I got the results and stuff. And that night, I wrote my recap. And I took a long time writing that thing. A long time. Not like I usually do. Like usually I'll take time and, detail it out a little bit. But that time, because I just knew this may be the last time I get to write about a game for who knows when. So I'm not going to rush it. I'm just going to enjoy it. Just going to sit back, relax. And I did. And sure enough, that was the last game we had here until August, till the fall.
Yeah.
Till the fall. We started in the fall.
Yeah.
We knew it. We knew it was coming. It was crazy stuff.
Yeah, that was just an all-around depressing time in history when all sports got basically canceled and postponed.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not a huge sports fan, like, you couldn't even go to the movie theater to even watch a movie at the time. You couldn't leave your house hardly. So I know that entertainment is huge with, like, me and my family, because I don't know what I would do if I didn't have music or had sports or had movies or something to watch. But if you're just constantly rewatching, it gets boring after a while. Mm-hmm. So not having, like, at least a game on the TV that is different, is new, it was really, really hard. And I'm sure it was hard for a lot of people because there was no new entertainment anywhere. There was no new anything. And yeah, I would say that was a very just all-around depressing time the first few months.
Yeah, and then kind of extending that. When we come back in the fall, well, for me, a big moment was they can come back to my office and into May, first part of June. That was kind of a big thing. We was home for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And then we come back in the fall. We knew sports was coming back, so it was kind of an exciting time. We did a Return to Friends series. Scott helped me with it. It was kind of like, when we was doing that, it was kind of like the dawning of a new era, a new season now. And it was. Now, anyone that followed anything knows that was not the end of the craziness. It was only the beginning of it. And we don't know when the craziness is going to end. We're still in the middle of that. But at least, we had some sense of normalcy back, and we still have that. And you have to knock on wood everything you say these days. It could change by minute, but we're continuing to progress with our sports. We're continuing to progress with in-person class. I think that's big for everybody.
That's huge.
That's what we talked about with President Kerry on our Chris episode, is how big it is for the students, for their mental health to be able to be in person. So we've come a long ways. We've worked hard. We've made a lot of strides. We're nowhere near the end of the strange times, but I think we just got to keep plugging away.
Stay optimistic.
Yes.
The way we look at it is just take it, optimistic, take it day by day, and just keep working together, and we'll get through it. Just like we did in the fall, we'll get through in the spring.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to thrive. The way I looked at it, too, is we're not going to just survive. We're going to try to thrive, and I think we are. We're doing well. I'm proud of what we've accomplished so far, but we got a lot more to do.
Oh, yeah. And that's like anywhere and everywhere, too. I mean, everybody, because even though we're not quite as big of a school as a lot of other schools, but I'm just glad that we're in a community where we understand. Do we all like it? No. But we understand what we need to do in order to survive, and I feel like that is officially breeding in other schools as well. Not that it wasn't at the beginning probably, but I mean, there's a reason why we didn't have that many cases, especially in the fall season, because we're a community that understands, even though it's not ideal, it's not normal or anything, it's still something that we need to do in order for us to have some sense of normalcy and to just kind of get back into our everyday life that we once had. And so it's just been a huge blessing here at Friends, and all of the administrative people and just sports admin people, whole 9 yards, just everybody working together and to keep the students on track as well, because I know some that didn't want to. Yeah. But so it's nice to see that, and not saying it's not happening in bigger schools, because it is, but I feel like it's like worse at bigger schools than it is here, and so that's just like a huge kind of blessing into that, is that we're able to continue to do that. And I feel like we'll start to see even more normalcy in this spring semester. It might not be at the beginning, obviously, but I think about halfway we're going to start to kind of see a little bit more normal. Like maybe we still have to be distanced, but in the classroom, if you're in your seat, okay, you can take your mask off. Or it's, okay, we can be kind of closer to each other, but you have to keep your mask on. Like vice versa, like either way, that works out for a lot of people. And then just being able to all come together in the classroom, and then all come together, and we can have more fans here than what we did in the fall.
Yeah.
And that we can start kind of seeing like the little steps. And I feel like about halfway through this semester, we'll start to see a change, but a change for progress and just better. And so, yeah, it's another reason I'm super blessed to go to a smaller school.
Yeah,
we can do that kind of stuff, and it's okay.
Yep. As far as my department goes, I'm very appreciative of you and Scott, who's in here, and Melissa, who's not here, but we put out a lot of good stuff in a kind of a weird season. It's been flexible hours, flexible games, flexible everything. It's been, nothing's been certain, but I'm certainly thankful for you two and your hard work to help us do what we need to do. And I'm proud of what we've done, but we got to, we're nowhere near the end of it, but we kind of have a path now to where I think we can navigate everything, and I think it's going to be good. So, You want to talk some NFL playoffs now? No.
I guess, I'm excited about just one game in general. That's about it.
And that game, well...
I'm excited for a lot of the games, don't get me wrong. But
let me guess. The game you're excited about is not necessarily the one that we chosen as our game of the week, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
It's Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm
All
excited.
Right. Let's talk about that one first, because we always do our game of the week last anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Cleveland at Pittsburgh, super wild card weekend. NFL calls it super wild card because they added an extra team this year due to COVID-19 and everything. The kind of strangeness of the season, they added one extra team in the playoffs this year in the NFC and the AFC. Whether that sticks for next year or not, I kind of hope it does. I kind of like it.
Yeah,
but,
it's interesting.
We'll see. It may stick. It may stay, but they added that this year. So now there's 3 wild card games Saturday and Sunday. There's a triple header Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So the last game of the triple header on Sunday night is going to be Cleveland and Pittsburgh. There's no more of it that defines a strange season more than this game does, because the Cleveland Browns.
There's a reason it's called Super Wild.
Yeah, the Cleveland. That's exactly right. It's accurate. The Cleveland Browns will be playing without the service of their head coach Kevin Stefanski, who is a top Coach of the Year candidate. The Browns went 11-5 this year after 6-10 last year. Kevin Stefanski came over. He was the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings last year. He came over and has done a marvelous job with Cleveland. First time they've been in the playoffs since 2002. He will not be able to coach this game because he has tested positive for COVID-19. He's doing great. He's doing fine.
They won't even let him FaceTime during the game.
I know.
He can't do anything, and I'm kind of upset about that.
And there was an article on Yahoo last night that I totally agree with. that said that they think they should let him, if they're not going to postpone the game and play it when he can coach, they need to at least let him virtually coach, which I don't see how he would gain any kind of a competitive advantage.
Exactly. There's
doing that. I mean, he's.
If anything,
it's
this
no
just
more being
kinda
on the
gives-
sidelines.
Yeah.
You're going to be at home, so let him coach the game virtually. But right now he's putting together the game plan and the schemes for a game he will not coach.
Yeah.
So that's how crazy this is.
That's a real bummer, but at the same time, like I agree with the Yahoo page, not gonna lie. Only because I'm like,
too.
if anything, it only gives like Pittsburgh an advantage. Just because they're like, oh, okay, they're not gonna have the head coach there. Cool, we can use that to our advantage. So I'm almost like, okay, are they like wanting the Pittsburgh to win or something? Because I don't know. But at the same time, Pittsburgh been super wishy-washy. You don't know what you're going to get from them right now and in this moment. So I don't know. But I'm super excited for the Browns right now.
Too.
I think
been
Baker
on the Browns
Mayfield
all year.
Doing amazing. He's doing an amazing job. And just
I've
I think
been
that
on
they
the Browns
officially
all
have like really clicked. I'm going with Browns just because I think that this is awesome.
I knew it. I've been on the Browns all year though with Baker Mayfield.
Like you said too, though, like they haven't been to the playoffs since 2002, and they finally get to, and it's just so amazing. Like that's awesome. That's like, you want to talk about an underdog team right now. This is your underdog team right here.
Yeah.
And they've proven themselves this whole entire season and this whole entire year that they've earned this. They deserve it. You know. So I'm kind of glad that they did have like the one extra team in there, because I mean it's given a whole new light to something that could potentially be a major positive for other teams in the future.
It's been a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. And the Browns, I've been on them all year with Baker Mayfield. Now being an OU fan, that's part of it, yes. But they have been I saw a lot of potential. They have been really good.
They've been just all around just really good this year.
One of the best running attacks in the league with Nick Chubb, the combination of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Mm-hmm. Nick Chubb missed several games due to injury, but Kareem Hunt filled the role very well. Now they've got them both there for the playoff game. Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr. went out early in the season. Baker Mayfield's actually played better since then.
Yeah.
Without having a true number one wide receiver, he's actually played better. He spread the ball out to Rashard Higgins. And receivers such as that, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
So even though that's kind
Jarvis
of like
Landry,
that was kind of like a negative thing at the beginning of the year, because everybody thought, oh man, okay, that's probably not going to be a good positive thing, because I mean, not that Baker Mayfield relied on him by any means, but it was a negative for probably a lot of Browns fans, and especially like in that moment in time. But I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's just gone all out.
It's turned out to be actually a positive. Baker Mayfield's played better since then.
It's like he feels way more confident, because, I mean, he is a thrower, but he's also a runner. He can do different things that you really and truly wouldn't think would come from him, because you don't really see it very often.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you have a really good wide receiver, why else would you go to anybody else? But now he doesn't have a choice,
mm-hmm.
And
so
it's given him...
Yeah.
It's given him a whole new perspective, I think, and it's given the Browns a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we have a very good team. Mm-hmm. We just need to trust each other, and I feel like they officially trust each other, which is so super amazing to see. You always want to see that on a team, but I don't know. I'm just so happy for them. Mm-hmm. I just really am.
Pittsburgh has been kind of in a lull the last month.
They have.
They started out 11-0, and they got upset by the Washington football team.
One game.
Then they lose that, which hurt the Cowboys. That comeback really hurt the Cowboys.
Yeah, that did hurt the Cowboys.
That really, in hindsight, really come back to hurt them.
Well, no one expected that to happen, if you think about it.
We didn't know how much at the time, but it did. We might be talking about the Cowboys here in the playoffs if it wasn't for that. But come down to one game, and that game turned out to hurt a lot more than what I thought it was going to be. But
that's okay.
But Pittsburgh lost that game. Then they turn around and lose to the Bengals.
Yeah.
Not just the Bengals without Joe Burrow.
Uh-huh.
They lose on the Monday Night Football. Then they lose again. And you're thinking, okay, something's not quite right here. They did turn it around against the Indianapolis Colts. They win that game, and they were down 24-7, and they come back and win 28-24. So that was a big win for them. Then they lost to the Browns Sunday. They didn't play Ben Roethlisberger, a lot of the starters, so
Yeah.
a little more understandable. But no, they've been in kind of a lull since starting out the season 11-0, and
Yeah.
I was 100% confident picking the Browns to start this because they've been trending upwards so much, and it's in Pittsburgh, but the home field advantage does not mean as much this time around. In fact, believe it or not, the NFL regular season, you had more road teams win than home teams.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's
It
that
really
big of a
hasn't been a
difference.
huge factor in anything. But at the same time, like, because there's not fans there, or
Yeah.
there aren't many fans there,
Yeah,
that takes a lot of that home field advantage away.
yeah.
You know?
It does. And now the weather can play a factor at times, but
Yeah.
Cleveland's used to cold weather anyway, so I don't think it's going to bother them all that much. So, I mean, I'm going to go with the Browns too. I'm not going to pick against Baker Mayfield. I've been with them all year nearly, so I'm going to be with you on the Browns. When I heard Kevin Stefanski can't coach, that was a red flag just because they're going to have a different play caller now because he also called the plays. He wasn't just a stand there on coach. He actually is calling the plays.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit more detrimental, but I think the Browns. I think they find a way. I think they rally together.
I think
and
so,
they get
too.
and they get a playoff win, which would probably most likely put them at Kansas City next week. Most likely, there's another bigger upset in the bracket. But
Yeah.
I'm with you on the Browns. I'm gonna go with Cleveland.
I'm just gonna, I agree with you. I think that they'll just find a way.
Yeah. The other
Somehow,
AFC matchup on starting actually the playoffs on Saturday is Indianapolis at Buffalo. No.
Ooh.
Buffalo has played probably like the best team in the league
Yeah.
the last 2 months, I would say. They are 13-3. Josh Allen is a fringe MVP candidate. Stephon Diggs, one of the best, maybe he probably had the best season out of any wide receiver this season. I believe he led the entire league in catches and receiving yards. Buffalo's defense is not great. It's not as good as it was last year, but still active and can be pretty solid. And Cole Beasley has been running routes like he does in the slot. He did it for the Cowboys. He's doing it with the Bills now. And the way Josh Allen can be with his legs and his arm, I don't see a lot of ways the Colts can win this. I guess the only way, if I'm going to analyze, the only way the Colts could hang in is to their defense, which is legitimately good, led by linebacker Darius Leonard. If they could force a couple turnovers early and then control the clock with their really good running game with Jonathan Taylor, and they maybe could keep the score close. But for me, Buffalo to me is a trendy Super Bowl pick, and I don't see them losing the first game at home. I think Buffalo wins. I think they win pretty convincingly. But again, if the Colts force a couple turnovers and kind of control the clock with the running game, they could keep the score close. But I got to go with Buffalo. No.
I honestly am going to agree with you on that one. I want to go with Buffalo as well because they've just been consistent all year around too. Like they really have. Obviously by their record too. Like that's kind of like a duh moment, but I mean, and not to hate against the Colts because I think that the Colts will do fine. I think that they can hold their own, but I feel like because their offense is nowhere near as strong as Buffalo's.
No.
Because Buffalo has a great offense and a great defense. And the Colts, they just kind of have a great defense. So but I would agree. I feel like if they do. Wow, that was really bad. if they are able.
It's live. We're live, and
it
it just comes out. No.
It's cool.
Yep. So we both got Buffalo. The next game on Saturday is going to be the Rams and the Seahawks NFC matchup. This is a little bit interesting too for me because the Rams. It looks like now Jared Goff will play. Will start at quarterback. Okay. He had thumb surgery. He missed last week's game against the Arizona Cardinals that the Rams won. John Wolford started for the Rams and won that game, which put them into the playoffs. They would have, I believe, they would have made it anyway. With the Bears losing, but that guaranteed them a playoff spot. They won 18-7. Arizona Cardinals could have won and been in the playoffs, but they lost and now they're out of the playoffs. But it looks like Jared Goff will start. Goff's not been real consistent this year for the Rams, though. He's been kind of off and on. They win games with their running game and defense. It's a little bit different what they had. Just remember, 3 years ago, they were actually in the Super Bowl. Or 2 years ago, they were actually in the Super Bowl and lost to New England. Now this year's team is a little bit different. They got one of the top defenses in the league, top cornerbacks in Jalen Ramsey, top defensive tackles, and really the best defensive tackle in Aaron Donald. And So I can see the Rams winning this game with defense. Seattle's also kind of a team that's been kind of on a downward trend a little bit. It is in Seattle, but what do you think on this game? What's your thoughts on this game?
I actually really am not 100% sure. I think this is going to be like a 50-50 toss-up.
Yeah, it is because both teams we've seen the best and worst of both teams. Like we saw the Rams lose to the Jets. Given their first win. But then we've also seen the Rams win at Tampa Bay. We've seen the Rams win convincingly in Arizona. We've seen them beat Seattle at home. And we've seen Seattle lose to the Giants at home. And Russell Wilson started out like an MVP camp the first half of the season. Second half, it's been a little bit more down to earth. I'll tell you what, I don't know if there's an upset in this game. I really don't.
I don't think so either. I think I'm going to go with Seattle.
You're going to Seattle. I think I'm going to go with the Rams defense. But that's just how 50-50 it is. We probably need to pick different on this game because this game could go either way. I'm going to give the Rams defense the nod, but whether Jared Goff starts or not. But Seattle, they could all of a sudden find themselves again. Their defense has been actually playing better lately. They're even better than their offense has. So Seattle could easily win this game. It's one of those 50-50 type games, and the Rams could too. So I'm going to go with the Rams defense, but I don't have much confidence in it.
If you think about it, Seattle just previously lost to the Rams. So, I mean, it's almost like a redemption game if you want to put it that way. I mean, because you're like, okay, man, we just lost to them not too long ago. Now we're going to come back and we're going to fight against them and we're going to pull out the win this time. So that's kind of what I'm basing it off of. It's not, I'm basing it off of, the competitiveness. Because playoffs, it'll bring out, the best in teams. If you want to talk about with the World Series, I'm sorry, I know a lot of people probably don't want me to bring it up, but, with the Astros, they did horrible in the regular season. Or they didn't do horrible, but they did
They were under 500.
Did bad.
They were under 500.
Yeah, I was like, they did pretty bad. So, but then they, showed out in the World Series, you know?
And was one game away from the World Series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm I feel like this is almost going to be a whole new atmosphere coming into playoffs versus regular season. So, I mean, and like you said, 50-50 shot. Mm-hmm. God only knows at this point. And I don't know, but I feel like just based on competitive atmosphere and just competitive attitude that I feel like every athlete has, they're going to want to come back for that redemption game, you know?
Yep, it could go either way. I'm going to go with the Rams defense, but Seattle, they could click again, and they could find it. So, 50-50 type game. It's probably going to be one of those 24-21 type games.
That's
that
what I'm
goes down
kind
to
of
the last possession.
I don't think it'll be a blowout, but at the same time, I mean, if you want to go Ohio State, Clemson type of game.
No one knew that was coming.
Oh, no. Jeez, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, 49-28 Ohio State won. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But, that took all of us off guard. But so the last game, Saturday NFL wild card, is not quite as tough for me to predict, which means it'll probably go the other way. But Tampa Bay at Washington. Washington got in the playoffs because the NFC East was a very, I'm not even going to say mediocre division. It was whatever below mediocre it is. I mean, the Cowboys without Dak Prescott, without their entire starting offensive line, and with their secondary missing 2/3 of the season, they were in the playoff race until the very last game of the year.
Yes.
So that's how mediocre the division was.
Poor Cowboys, man.
I know, they were right there.
You want to talk about a series of unfortunate events, that's the Cowboys this year.
I'm kind of glad we missed out on one unfortunate event, though, because if they had won the Giants, they lost 23-19 to the Giants. The last game of the year, last Sunday. They had already beaten the Eagles the week before 37-17 to put themselves in position. That eliminated the Eagles. Well, if they had beat the Giants, it was really close. If they had beat the Giants, then they would have needed the Eagles to beat Washington to get to win the division. Yeah. Well, the Eagles was up 14-10, and then because if Washington beat the Eagles, they're in. If the Eagles beat Washington, the Cowboys would have been in.
Yeah.
Well, that started out with the Giants, and the Giants won. But I'm just saying, if the Cowboys had won, they'd have been the one that would have been in. The Eagles take out Jalen Hurts, their starting quarterback, on the fourth quarter in a 17-14 game. Everyone is going crazy on social media thinking, you're tanking the game. You're not putting. They put Nate Sudfeld in their third-string quarterback.
Yeah, I remember.
And I don't think I could bear the Cowboys. I'm kind of glad that was already over because the Giants players and fans were going nuts on. I'm thinking, okay, I'm kind of glad this is not the Cowboys here. This is just not. That's not good.
Well, I mean, you think about it. I'm sure their coach was like, you know what? Whatever. Just Okay, hey, you come out, you go in, like, you haven't really played this year. Go, just go for it, you know? Like, that's like sitting, like, that's like taking the Rudy. I mean, granted, Rudy did end up doing, like, amazing, apparently, you know? But, like, think about it. That's like a Rudy moment right there. I mean, except for, I mean, it didn't help by any means.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, that, it was just kind of funny. I was like, well, so you're going to put your, like, a player that's never even played this year and all of a sudden, or like played very little this year, and just that must have been like pulling teeth.
Yeah, he played about as much as Rudy did the whole year.
Yeah, I was like that had to been like pulling teeth
right
there.
I'm kind of glad the Cowboys did not have that writing on it. I'm kind of glad it was already done, because that would have been agonizing for Giants. It was agonizing for Giants fans and the Giants. So Washington gets in 20-14 because they beat the Eagles, right? Okay. So now Washington is in the playoffs. They're playing Tampa Bay. The only chance I'll give Washington, similar to the Colts, although I think the Colts have a little better shot, but similar to the Colts, Washington does have a really good defensive line. Chase Young is a top defensive rookie. Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, they can get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that the only way they can keep it close if they put pressure on Tom Brady, which we've seen.
Yeah,
he's not real mobile.
He's not good under pressure.
So they could hang in there, but Tampa Bay the last month, they've been off and on all year.
Yeah.
They beat Green Bay 38-10, who is the number 1 seed in the NFC, who has a bye this weekend. But then they've also had some bad losses, and they've also had some really close games. Like the next week they go to the Giants. 1 week they go close to the Giants on the road. So for a while we didn't know what to expect out of Tampa Bay. But the last month they played really well. Tom Brady's played really well. There's not enough of a chance that everything clicks for Washington for me to pick them. So I'm gonna go Tampa Bay. I think the only thing to watch for is if Washington football team, if they were to get pressure, maybe force a fumble, a turnover early, get a little momentum, and then Alex Smith game manage Antonio Gibson kind of run the ball, keep the ball away from Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have a shot to keep the game close in the second half, but I'm not sure that's going to happen, so I got to go with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, but I think that I would have to agree with you in the sense that if they can keep pressure on Tom Brady, because once Tom Brady, like, he's not a guy that really, like, shuts down, but he kind of does, it throws his mentality off a little bit, especially whenever he's under pressure, and then he just starts irritating his other players, and it's just, it can all go downhill from there. But, I mean, at the same time, defense they have to actually show up in order to do that.
Yeah.
So, and you never know what you're exactly going to get from Washington fully. Yeah, you never know. Sorry.
Yeah, you don't.
I like Washington.
We like Tampa. We're going with Tampa Bay.
We're going
Tampa Bay. So, before we get to our game of the week, which is not the game you're the most looking forward to, I know Cleveland-Pittsburgh is that game. We already talked, and that's for me too. That was our second choice game of the week, actually. But
it's just an awesome feeling.
We almost picked that game. We almost picked that as our game of the week. But the Bears and the Saints will be at 3:40 p.m. on Sunday. This is kind of similar to Tampa Bay and Washington for me. The Saints' defense is really, really good at putting pressure on the quarterback, forcing turnovers. The Bears have played better. The Bears have. You want to talk about a roller coaster? The Bears started 5-1.
Yeah.
They lost 6 straight and looked like they were going to be out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then they come back and they win 3 out of their last 4, and they won 3 in a row, and they lose their finale to Green Bay. But they still got in the playoffs with the Cardinals losing. So the Bears are in the playoffs. Mitchell Trubisky played part of the year. Then Nick Foles took over. Trubisky's injured. Trubisky comes back, plays better, not great, but better, enough to put him in this spot. So the Bears defense with Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith at linebacker, they can get after the quarterback. Drew Brees can be susceptible to that at times. So it's kind of like the same formula we've discussed already, to where you're just trying to keep a game close and try to give yourself a chance to win at the end. I can see a scenario where that happens, but I think the most likely scenarios is the Saints win this game pretty big after the heartbreak the last 2 years, losing at home to Minnesota the first game in overtime last year. And then the year before, really feel like they got robbed out of the Super Bowl bid with the non-pass interference call with the Rams. They feel like they should have won that game and been in the Super Bowl against New England
Yeah.
So I think the Saints take care of business, and I think they do it pretty handily.
I honestly would agree, but I've always liked the Saints. I don't know what it is about them. They're just, I think it has a lot to do with Drew Brees, not going to lie, because he's been just a phenomenal quarterback for them. He really has. And I just have faith in the Saints, and I think they'll end up pulling it out. And like you said, like the Bears have just been like hit or miss. They really have. And then all of a sudden now they've come back and really kind of shown out for 3 out of the 4 last games, you know. I mean, not that they didn't for the 4th game, because Green Bay, that's already a hard game in general. Yeah. Because isn't that like a rival game for them or something? Yeah, so. Yeah,
it is. I got to go with the Saints.
Yeah.
They got Michael Thomas back, receiver who's been out off and on the whole year.
Yeah.
He was out a lot the first part of the year, come back for a couple of games, and then he's been out since. He's going to play. It's believed Alvin Kamara is also going to play. I believe he had a positive COVID test the week before. He missed the regular season finale, but he's back, I believe, for Sunday. So the Saints should be at full strength. And I think they win this big. And I think the Saints could also actually make a Super Bowl run. People think it might be Drew Brees' last year at quarterback. It could be. He's not announced it yet, but he could be.
He's just had so much injuries, problems.
Yeah, so they want to make a run. I think they will. I think they start it now. I think they beat the Bears pretty convincingly.
Yeah.
All right, time for our game of the week. We talked about 2 games that we settled on this one. I think it's a good one. And I think social media thinks it's a good one too, because they couldn't be more opposite in their choices. Baltimore and Tennessee. On Twitter, you got 62.5% that picked Tennessee.
Really?
37.5% picked Baltimore. On Instagram, it's the exact opposite. 55% picked Baltimore. So we're split here. Instagram likes Baltimore. Twitter likes Tennessee. That talks about how much of those games, how split this game really is.
Yeah, it's a pretty 50-50 game. Like, I think that this is why we actually chose this game, is because these two teams, they're actually very equal. They have similar records, or they have at least close records, you know.
Yep.
They are pretty equivalent, like, all around defense and offensive wise. Like, both are pretty similar. But like, I don't think one outshines the other by a lot. You know?
Right, yeah.
And I feel like both teams are going to put up a really good fight. I really and truly do. This is not going to be a blowout by any means. If it is, we're all going to be shocked. But I think I am actually going to go with Tennessee this time, though. I think I'm going to go with Tennessee. The only reason why is because I love Henry as a running back. He's been super unstoppable, like just phenomenal. And I think that has a lot to do with it in their defense. They have some pretty good – they have a really good defense as well. Like, they put a lot of pressure, but not like a whole lot. You know what I mean? Kind of ish. I don't really know.
Tennessee's defense has kind of been their weak spot. And that's kind of what I've been on the fence about this all week. My gut feeling to start with was Baltimore. No.
Yeah.
And because Baltimore has been playing like the number 1 seed that they were last year. And they got upset, actually, by Tennessee last year.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, Tennessee wound up being in the AFC Championship game last year against Kansas City. Tennessee, they upset New England, and they go to Baltimore. They beat them. And, it was they upset them.
I know they upset Houston.
Yeah,
That was not funny.
So Tennessee, their defense what holds me back, because I watched the end of that game last week against Houston, and Deshaun Watson with 4th and 5th string receivers now.
Yeah.
They put up 38 points on them, and it looked like Watson was just shredding them. Now, I know Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback. I get that, but with 4th and 5th string receivers, he was just shredding Tennessee's defense. So Tennessee's defense, I just don't know if they can hold up enough. I think Derrick Henry has a big game. I think Ryan Tannehill, they use the play action better than anybody does. Ryan Tannehill with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry runs and he wears defenses down, and then Tannehill takes shots down the field. So I think it's going to be kind of a back and forth offensive type game. but my gut is just telling me to pick Baltimore, and I just don't think I can get out of that. I don't think I can get out of that. But I think I got to go with Baltimore. I go with Baltimore, even though I'm torn on it. I think Tennessee has a type of formula to where they can beat any team.
Yeah.
With their ball, with Derrick Henry controlling possession, controlling the ball, they can beat any team in the league. And they could beat Baltimore. This is a 50-50 tie game. They could beat Baltimore. Baltimore, I think, is a 2-point favorite, maybe 3-point favorite. It's a very tight window on that. Very tight spread. I think it might be the tightest spread of the weekend. But the way Baltimore is rolling on offense, my gut tells me to go with Baltimore. I think I'll stick with that. But it's kind of like the Rams and Seattle game where we're not going to be surprised whoever wins.
Yeah.
It could really go either way. I think if you're projecting forward, the winner of this game could go to Kansas City, depending on what happens with the other games. Now, if Cleveland beats Pittsburgh like we both picked, then
Cleveland.
I'll tell you this. Let me simplify it for everybody. If the picks line up the way me and you have it, then Cleveland would go to Kansas City, and the Baltimore Tennessee winner would go to Buffalo.
Yep.
So either Baltimore or Tennessee would go to Buffalo. If Cleveland and Indianapolis both lose, then the winner of Baltimore Tennessee goes to Kansas City. I think Baltimore have a better chance of upsetting the top seed because of the way they are playing. I just don't know if Tennessee's defense can get enough stops against Kansas City, similar to last year's game where they got out to a lead and then Kansas City just scored at will, it seemed like. So Tennessee's defense is kind of what's holding me back from picking them.
Like some sort of.
Well, if you remember, not to bring up any bad memories for you, but remember Houston won a playoff game last year, and they played Kansas City in the divisional round. They were up 24-0 on Kansas City, and Kansas City scored, I believe, was it 8 straight possessions, 9 straight possessions, and
all
they
in
won
like the fourth freaking quarter too.
51-31. The final score was like 51-31.
This was literally all in the fourth quarter.
A lot of it, some of it was,
It was, or at least for sure, second half. It's like, okay, at halftime, all of a sudden, Mahomes like, oh, we're good now.
It was like a fire that was blazing. They just couldn't put it out.
And this would have been like the first time that like we had like anywhere near close to a playoff berth.
Yeah.
Like for Houston, that was very upsetting.
They looked like they were going to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. With everything that was going on with 24. The Astros, we were like hoping, okay, Texans, let's go, bring something good, right?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
No. You crumble. You fall. You break. What the heck? That was bad.
Yep. And we know what happened with the DeAndre Hopkins, and they're not the same team this year. But
why'd you gotta bring that one up? Dang.
Yeah, and that was actually kind of a compliment. It might have been a backhanded compliment, but they have a valid reason why they're not where they are, what they were last year. A valid reason.
Oh yeah.
And and the GM and coach that did that is no longer with the Texans.
Thank God. I feel like as soon as he made the trade, everybody was like, "Okay, you're done."
Yeah,
like you're done. Like why? You. I don't even know. Sorry. Yeah. I love my Texans, but man, that. Okay, we're gonna move on now.
One thing it did though was that it made my son Luke happy. Cardinals getting DeAndre Hopkins. It made him thrilled. He was it was a happy day. Yeah.
You're lucky I like Luke. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Y'all are lucky I like him.
He was thrilled with it. He'll take it. Yeah, he'll take it. So that's our picks in the NFL Super Wild Card Run. We'll be back next week to kind of recap it and project the Super Bowl. Now we'll talk a little bit of college football. That is coming up. You touched on it already. But you touched on a big part of it already.
Dang, that was
Ohio State romping Clemson. I don't think any of us is shocked Alabama beat Notre Dame. So
no.
Alabama winning that game 31-14. None of us are surprised at that.
Yeah.
But Ohio, I really thought all year we were trekking toward an Alabama-Clemson national championship.
I think everyone did, especially at how bad LSU kind of did this year.
Yeah, some people was down. OU got off to kind of a tough start.
Yeah.
And then come roaring back. But kind of, it looked like Alabama and Clemson was on a different level.
Yeah. Like you already knew, those two playoff bound. You already knew Final Four for them. Yeah. So that was not a big, huge shock. And then once we figured out exactly who was going to be the other two teams, we were like, okay, Ohio State, not a huge shock, but, I mean, okay, Clemson or Alabama will take care of them. No!
Yeah.
Notre Dame, I think, was kind of like a joke. I'm sorry. Not hating against Notre Dame. I'm not. But, like, me and you have had this conversation.
Yeah,
okay, you're just going to be the fourth team.
We had this conversation. I think my words was, and I'll say it again, I watched Clemson play Notre Dame in the ACC championship game. And it was 34-3 in the fourth quarter. And Notre Dame scored a garbage time touchdown. I don't see how the committee thought they were one of the 4 best teams in the country. In fact, I think it says a lot about the rest of the contenders that they got in there.
Yeah.
Because no one else had a good enough resume to get. OU had 2 losses. A&M had already lost Alabama. And I think that's why Notre Dame got in.
I think that's the only reason Notre Dame. I would agree with you. That's the only reason. That had to be the only reason Notre Dame even got in, was because A&M already lost to Alabama, and no one wanted to see that again. Yeah. Which I feel like that personally probably wouldn't have happened again. I think it would have been a way better game than the first one. You know, but I mean, like, no one really wants to see it again. We've already seen it. We've already done it. Okay, we got it. Like, shoot, then make them play A&M or not or A&M play Clemson and switch that way. You know, but
well, I think, and this is my opinion, but I think watching the games in the bowl games, the 5 and 6 team, Texas A&M was 5th, Oklahoma was 6th. A&M beats North Carolina, a good North Carolina team, 41-27. They scored 3 straight touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win. Oklahoma romps Florida 55-20. And I know Florida's missing starter, but still 55-20. Either one of those teams, and I'm not just saying this, Oklahoma or Texas A&M, either one of those teams I think beat Notre Dame.
Nah.
So I think either one of them would have beat Notre Dame head-to-head.
Yeah. So that was a huge controversy.
I have a hard time believing Notre Dame is one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Dude, I'll never forget some of my friends that are at A&M right now. They were so mad. They were like, oh my gosh, we got robbed. I was like, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. But again, I'm not a huge A&M fan anyways.
It didn't bother you, but
it didn't bother me none. But it bothered a lot of people.
Michigan wasn't involved in it, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, as long as Michigan's not involved, I'm good, you know.
And then they weren't involved in it this year.
No, not at all. Shoot, they haven't been involved in it in like a few years now, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
So Michigan, come on. Do something.
And they're on the verge.
You're letting Ohio State do something. Come on.
And I think you've probably seen Michigan is on the verge of signing Jim Harbaugh to a big contract extension. Yeah. So again, if you think Harbaugh's the guy, then that's good news.
Yeah.
If you don't, then it's not good news because I think it looks like they're going to be tied. Now again, we all know contracts can be voided at any time.
Yeah.
They're not lifetime contracts. We know how that works. But it looks like Harbaugh is still the guy for the foreseeable future. So for Michigan fans like yourself that wants it to improve, it's got to be with Harbaugh.
Now it's got to be with him.
That's who you've tied with. So you've tied
but
yourself with.
Going back to Ohio State and Clemson, the whole time, obviously, like we said, I'm a Michigan fan. So why on earth would I root for Ohio State? I was kind of upset about that game. I mean, I didn't care the outcome anyways, but at the same time, I was pretty upset because. I mean, I've liked Clemson. They're not a horrible team by any means, so I respect Clemson. But now I kind of have less respect for them just because. At least it should have been like way closer, but for some reason, just Clemson didn't even show up.
Yeah, and they come out and score on their first possession, and I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of what we all expected. Ohio State scores, and then Clemson scores back.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, well, Clemson's going to win this game. Ohio State blitzed them after that. I mean, it was over. And it was unbelievable. Justin Fields threw for 6 touchdown passes, and he was going down the field just at will. I mean, just picking and choosing, going over the top of Clemson's defense. It was, and one of the controversies I'll hit on, and look, I don't have a side on this either way, so really, I get we're in a different season, a strange season, but I want to get your thoughts. I don't think we talked about it. Ohio State come in the game 6-0.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson come into the game playing 11 games. I believe they were 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
So playing 11 games to 6. Some people think only playing 6 games to most teams playing 10 or 11 or more is a distinct advantage. Some people actually think, and I'll say this, you look at the way Ohio State played and the way Clemson played, Ohio State almost maybe looked, I'll use the word, fresher? No. Clemson played almost, we've never seen it before, so we don't know how the effects of it. So it may be null and void, it may be negligible.
I
But-
can see how it's an advantage, but I can also see how it's a disadvantage.
Yeah,
too.
and that's
So-
what Kirk Herbstreit said in the area. It could be either way.
Yeah, so
But
that's
I think
why,
it's
like, I mean,
fascinating
I can
to
see
talk about.
both sides of this. So for advantage wise, okay, one, yes, you are fresher.
Yep.
Two, I mean, the other, it's just kind of like I had it in my mind and then I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, so let's go back to disadvantages real quick so then I can get back to my advantages. But like a major disadvantage to it is that the other team has more experience right at this moment in time.
Yeah, they're
They're understanding how this year is going to go.
more.
They understand what other teams have done. They've also they've just had like all around better practice, if you want to say. They've had more practice. But once again, here's my other advantage. Because of, like, with the disadvantage, like, of being able to play more, that's an advantage to the other team. Mm-hmm. They can watch you more.
Yeah.
They can see what you're going to do. They can see how you fold under pressure. They can see how you do all these different things. Or if you, either you fold or you are successful under pressure. Like, they understand what you can and cannot do. So all of a sudden, Ohio State's like, okay, their defense is just not doing it. But we kind of expected that. So we're just going to chunk it over them, right? So that's like, I can see how that could be a major advantage because of like film-wise, of just watching-wise, understanding what you can and cannot do because of how they've reacted to different things going into it. So, but at the same time, I still think that that's no excuse for Clemson losing by any means. Like, I don't think that it's an excuse.
I don't think it is.
Means.
I think it's just fascinating because a lot of things have happened this year we've not seen before, so we
That's
don't
true.
really have. It's unprecedented, so we don't really have anything to go by on it. Like Clemson, their physicality, they basically had played twice the amount of another full season than what Ohio State played. So their bodies have been through more physical punishment, more practices, more of the grind. Middle grind where Ohio State started a lot later, had some games postponed. So you almost play, one team's playing another full season on their bodies than the other team has. And I think I think it's different. I just think it's different. I don't know, it may not have any effect, but it's different.
Well, here's the other thing is that, like, whenever you're in the Final Four, were they the only team in the Final Four that started late?
Yes.
That's already an advantage right then and there.
Yeah.
If you hardcore think about it, like, that's messed up for
everybody
other teams.
Everybody in the Final Four, no one else started late but them.
No.
And it's not Ohio State's fault, of course, but...
Well, no, it's not, but at the same time, like, that's also a element. It's an element that you have to take into consideration that I don't think the NCAA really hardcore actually took into consideration. Or if they did... Okay, interesting.
I think I don't think they had any choice to, but I don't think they had. I think they just kind of made up some of the stuff as they go because they don't know. Like the Big Ten and Pac-12 all started late.
Yeah.
And in fact, they didn't look like they was going to play a season. Yeah. And the Big 12 and SEC and ACC, all three of the Power Fives played. So they're the only two Power Fives not playing. Yeah. And they start their season in October. And then, of course, you had a game or two where they got postponed. And
or like what they should have done is they should have done 50-50. So 50-50, okay, who are the best two teams that only played half the season? Who are the best two teams that played the full season?
Yep.
And base it off of that. Because that's a huge, like, surprisingly, that is an advantage to Ohio State just right then and there. Again, not trying to knock them because they really aren't a bad team. Obviously, they're not a horrible team. But at the same time, like, if you want to use that kind of like in a mental aspect, obviously not as an excuse, but like for something that NCAA should take into consideration, especially for next year or for previous years, considering if this is what's going to continue to happen or not, which I doubt it. But
yeah, it's probably
a
one-time type deal, and I think I bring it up because it's fun to talk about. It's just fascinating for me because we don't have any precedent of this happening before.
No.
So it's I mean, at the end of the season, players they're wore out, their bodies are wore out, and you basically have a Clemson team who's played an entire season, almost a full season, more than what Ohio State played, like 2 seasons to 1.
Yeah.
So it's a fun conversation. Now on the other side, as you mentioned, Ohio State, you play less games, you don't get as much of a rhythm at times. Have to start and stop again, so that's hard on Ohio State. So maybe they had maybe it's tough of a grind. I don't know. It's just something that. And we're going to sit in the national championship game, too, with Alabama and Ohio State. Alabama's played a full season.
Yeah.
So I think
So-
I think the real true controversy will be determined
Yep.
how this game goes. I actually do believe that, okay, this will determine if this was really an advantage to Ohio State,
'Cause I think
or
we'll see
it was
something.
actually kind of like,
We'll
okay,
see
luck of the
something.
draw.
Yeah, we'll see a
So-
sign. Yeah.
Because for all we know, like, after Ohio State, because I've seen this happen, like, I've even seen this happen in, like, one of my brother's baseball, like, high school games.
Yeah.
Like, it was going to be a tough game. It was a rival game, so it was going to be a tough game anyway. Like, they were hitting against a pitcher who was, like, top pick, got a scholarship to UT to be a pitcher for UT. Like, come on. Like, so it's a good pitcher, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, like, it just so happened to be my brother that did this, but, like, first pitch of the whole entire game, my brother hits a triple. First pitch, triple. Psyched the whole entire rest of the game. Like, it ended up being a blowout because the other team was so rattled that the pitcher was so rattled, he didn't know what to do anymore. So he was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And, and that could have easily happened when Ohio State finally kind of figured out, okay, this is what we're going to do, and Clemson wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. All that could definitely could be. All that could be.
It's a 50-50 shot on
point. I
if
think
the
it's
controversies are
yeah.
correct, or if it was just kind of like a luck of the draw type of thing, like they kind of
Yep.
just used it to their advantage.
You're right, and we'll find out a week from Monday. We will on Monday night. We need to make our picks for that. It's actually coming up Monday night, the 11th.
Oh. I'm going to Alabama. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I cannot
It's going up on the
pick
11th.
Ohio State. I can't. If I did, my grandpa would kill me.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna go Alabama too.
I'm straight up Alabama.
I'm gonna go Alabama too because it's what Ohio State did to Clemson gives me some pause. Because but Alabama is look. I said Alabama and Clemson are the two best teams. I thought going in, I was apparently wrong about Clemson.
Apparently everybody was wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of people were probably wrong about that one.
But I don't think I'm wrong on Alabama. Devontae Smith, their wide receiver, just won the Heisman. Their quarterback, Mac Jones, is also a finalist.
He just won the Heisman.
He won the Davey O'Brien Award. Mac Jones. They're loaded. Nick Saban is the best coach we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I have
gotta go
actual just
Alabama.
mad respect for Alabama and their football team just in general. Am I a huge Alabama fan? Absolutely not. But do I respect them as a team? I have for years. Alabama has usually been not solid every year, but they've been kind of consistent with how they do things, and I feel like that is a tradition for them, and that's just how they continue to do it. But that's why they continue to be consistent. That's why they continue to be strong every single year, or at least every other year, and because you take a team like LSU, they were champions, they did everything great last year, but then all of a sudden tanked this year, so but you don't really see that with Alabama.
It's hard to sustain it the way Alabama's done. It really is. It's an accomplishment, and I'm not an Ohio State fan either. I still am, and I grew up really
Stupid
liking.
Buckeyes.
I always loved Michigan football and basketball. Seriously, as a kid, I've always liked Michigan. I'm not even sure why I started, but I always did. You can ask my dad. I've always rooted for Michigan, so we've always liked Ohio State. So I love Michigan. So I can't root for Ohio State. The only good thing about Ohio State winning is it might kind of hush up some of these SEC shrills that you have around here.
That is true.
That's the only thing you get kind of tired of hearing is the SEC. But it doesn't matter. Alabama is head and shoulders above everyone else, including the SEC.
Yeah.
So I got to go with Bama. I don't think there's any doubt on that.
I don't either. Would it be kind of interesting if they did lose? I think that would be a very interesting turn of events.
Even to Ohio State. Yeah.
But at the same time,
They've met in the playoffs before. The very first year of the playoffs in 2014, Ohio State beat Alabama in the semifinal when Ohio State barely got in over TCU and Baylor.
Yeah.
And Ezekiel Elliott ran wild in that game and ran wild in the championship game against Oregon, and Ohio State won it all that year. So it could happen. I don't think it will, but it could happen. So we'll see Monday night.
That would be fun.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting.
All right, you got anything random for us today?
I do have one random thing because it's also going to kind of play into my devotional for today.
Yep.
So the biggest controversial thing probably of every single new year. New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
So, like a lot of people are kind of like, okay, I want to work out more. I want to be motivated more. I want to do all these different things. I want to eat better.
Yeah.
I want to like travel more. I want to be more financially stable. Well, how long does that actually last? Like, come on average, how long does that actually last?
Yeah.
Like, and I fall under that category. I understand. I mean, here recently, considering that, like, I've completely changed my goals and my New Year's resolutions for every single year.
Yep.
But, like, I mean, I was one of those people that I wanted to work out more. I wanted to eat better. I wanted to do all these different things. But, I mean, that lasted maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm like, it's just... Because you kind of get into a rhythm and you're kind of like, okay, this is how my everyday life is. But now you want to do this drastic change.
Yeah.
Okay, well, well, I mean, that's like whenever we were at the gym. Okay, I love that I'm going to work out one so much more just because now that, like, I legit have a gym membership at Planet Fitness, and it just so happened that I got it over, like, this week, like, I mean, but that was not a resolution for me at all. Yeah. But I go with my boyfriend and his friend. And there was, like, usually, like, no one at the gym with them, like, there hasn't been a whole lot of people because of how late they go and that there's just not a lot of people. First day that we go, like, within January, right? The first day we get back. I had no idea. Like, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have, like, a few people here. We might have more people just because of New Year's resolutions, blah, blah, blah. No, we get to the gym. And they are both like, oh my gosh, this parking lot is, like, insane. There's really not that many cars in the parking lot. Or at least to me there wasn't, But to them, they were like, this is more people than we've had here. Oh my gosh. I'm like, okay. And then we get into the gym and I'm like, there's, like, really so much space in here. Like, there's, like, not a lot of people. But I'm also used to, like, here, like, where we actually do have quite a few people in every single gym and every single workout type of area because we kind of have to. We're kind of forced to. But so it was just kind of funny to me on how they reacted to it. But, like, they were like, oh my gosh, it's all these New Year's resolution people. This is probably going to last maybe a month. I was like, yeah, if that. Think about it. Hardcore, think about it. If that. Like, so it was just kind of funny.
Yeah. New Year, everybody's packing the gym.
New Year, new me. Like, yeah, that's like my favorite quote. We said that the other day too, didn't we?
We did.
We did.
New Year, new you.
New Year, new me. Like, okay. I think 2020 kind of ruined that quote for a lot of people.
Yeah. They either ruined it or enhanced it to, like, you're even more committed now to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My favorite commercial, too, is, like, the one with, like, the Match.com one, the TV commercial. Yeah. It's, like, the devil in 2020. Like, he was on Match.com and, like, matched with 2020. So he, like, goes, they meet up for the first time, and he's, like, 2020, and she's like, call me 2020. And they're doing all these different things. It's so funny because it's so true. And, like, if you hardcore think about it, like, the devil and 2020. Come on. Like, Match.com did a great job with that. I'm sorry. I thought that was hilarious.
It was pretty accurate.
That was just hilarious. But now they have, like, the new one where they're at, it's now 2021. And now they're in, like, counseling together, 2020 and the devil. Like, they're in counseling. It's so funny. It's just hilarious. I love it. I think it's awesome. But anyways, going back to New Year's resolutions. But, like, it's true. Like, how many people actually, like, really hardcore continue to live by their New Year's resolution? Like, on average, what do you think? I don't really have a statistic up. I'm just actually asking. Like, what do you think?
I don't know for sure. I think the percentage would have to be pretty low for people. For me, at least, I don't know that I've ever made New Year's resolution. I've made it like some years I would think about, like, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I would kind of make a resolution, like, you're going to talk about reading your Bible more, praying more, getting closer to the Lord, spending more time with family, doing your goal driven,
Yeah.
doing your best at work. I don't know, all those cliches. Those are all cliches. But I don't think I've even wrote anything down, except maybe once. And I've never been really, I don't guess I've ever had anything to where I think I've got a bullet point to get better at.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lot of things that I try to improve on daily, all through the year.
Yeah.
So I don't really look at New Year's as a snapshot of, wanting to do better. I think it's just kind of a gradual process for everything for me.
Yeah.
And I might be the minority.
Well,
But
like,
I don't know.
I feel that. Like, that's usually me, too. Like, I mean, I'll start out kind of with somewhat of a resolution.
yeah.
Like, at least now, like, this year and for multiple years before this, my New Year's resolution is, because I feel like everyone can always improve on this, is to always grow in my faith and to just be more positive.
That's a daily thing.
And that is a daily thing.
I think if we put it just on a yearly thing, we kind of lose track of it. I think it's something you do daily. Yeah.
So, like, it's like, because obviously you can work out daily if you want to, but you also have to try and fit that into your schedule. You have to try and get that back into a rhythm. And so to me, certain resolutions you have to work up to, but if you can do it little at a time, or every single day, do something little every single day, because it's the little things that count. Whether it's, okay, I pray every single night before I go to bed, or I pray every single morning whenever I get up, or I read my Bible every single day, or I listen to a podcast that has a really great devotional. That's one of the main things that I do. Or if it's just kind of writing down your thoughts and saying that, like, because I've heard of this one too. It's almost like you're writing a letter to God, but it's not, in a way. Like, at the end of it, you say, like, or at the beginning, you say, like, "Dear God," But I mean, it's actually, like, really interesting, like, to do just, like, the little things. On TikTok, I actually found one for, like, growing in your faith. Like, I forgot what the acronym was, but it was like, okay, so write down a scripture, like the actual, like, acronym thing. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up again. But I know for a fact it had, like, your scripture, write what you do in a scripture, write a certain scripture. What did that scripture mean? And then write a little tiny, like, write a prayer. So,
that's good.
And I think that there was a little bit more with it, but those were, like, the three main ones that I know that easily anybody can do. Like, just, you can pick literally any verse in the Bible, whatever scripture you want to do. Like, you can easily write that down. What did it mean to you?
Yeah.
Okay? And then just say, like, a few words to God about it. Or just talk to God. Just write it down and keep a journal of it. But that'll help you keep track of it, because I'm one of those people that I like to keep track of certain things, because I also have, like, so many daily reminders on my phone. I'm one of those kinds of people. So, like, easily keeping track of, like, that kind of stuff. And you can do that with your workouts. You can do that with your eating. You can do that with anything. But you also have to slowly work into that. But I feel like with growing in your faith, you can't. I mean, you don't go and read the whole entire Bible in one day. That's not gonna make a difference. Trust me. It's not. If anything, it might make you hate.
It might burn you out more, and you can't do that.
No. So don't do that. Just take it a little bit at a time. And in all honesty, like, that's how I kind of actually grew up. Anyways, I grew up in a church. I know you did too. So, like, I read the whole entire Bible, like, once. Maybe twice, like, or at least, like, 1.5. But that's just because I kind of just wanted to. But I had years of, ever since I was little, like, that I've been wanting to, like, I've had little tiny scriptures, I've had little tiny Bible studies that have helped me along my way to understand. But yeah, no, like, on average with New Year's resolution, sorry, going back to my randomness instead of my rant about randomness. So going back to it, I would say on average, I think it's probably statistically about 30%. That 30% of people actually continue on with their New Year's resolution.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
I think that people get pretty far with their New Year's resolutions, but do they continue to actually do it? But at the same time, you got to be realistic with your goal. you can always write down your goals. You can always do all those different things. Like, I encourage people to write down their goals and then look at them every single day. But be realistic with certain ones. You can be unrealistic with certain ones. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you can be unrealistic with some of them. But have more realistic ones versus unrealistic, especially if you know that is unrealistic to you.
Yeah.
If you have not worked out in years, or it's been a hot minute since you've worked out or something, then you can write down, I want to work out more. But think of it as, okay, this is kind of a want, not a need in my life. Think of it as that too. Like, unrealistic, maybe not like the best word, but think about it as wants and needs in this type of situation. Okay, I need to grow more in my faith. I want to work out and eat better and do all those different things, even though like some people, they might think of them as needs, but also think of it more as a want. Or think, I need to be more financially stable, so you actually start keeping track of it. Or you start, like, little by little starting to find, like, okay, I'm going to stop eating out quite as much just because that's going to save me more money. I don't need to go to Starbucks every single day to get my coffee. I can start making it at home. Or
those are things you can actually do, and that's a little bit more realistic.
So, like, I feel, I don't know, like, what would be like a realistic goal for you? If you could do one for 2021, what's a realistic goal?
Oh, goodness. Like I say, I've not really thought a lot about that because I've always been more of a process type person, to where, okay, there's a bucket list of things that you're going to get better at, but it's more of a all year type thing. So I usually don't think of anything specific that you do, but I think you could tie everything into your faith. And I think I'll tell you this. I think one thing we all can do this year is, and I've seen a lot of this on just by interacting with people on whether it's social media or even in person or whatever. I think we all can have a little bit, and we can strive to do this more this year. Have a little bit more empathy for each person, and try to put yourself in their shoes more often. And I don't mean to say love more. I mean that's good too. That's good. But that's also kind of cliche-ish, and to say, well, just love more. There's not a lot of action behind that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a buzzword that sounds good, and it is good. But I don't know if you have any meaningful results that come out. I don't know how you can measure that. But I think just putting yourself in their shoes more, not assuming the worst in people. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they're going through mentally, physically. I know this has been a kind of a strange time. So they might be in a totally different spot than me. And sometimes I think a lot of us do, but I certainly do, is you kind of look at someone as if they're in the same position as you. So if they don't do something like you think they should do, or say something you think they should say, then you kind of get, I don't want to say offended, but you kind of think, okay, it kind of rubs you the wrong way. And I think we all need to, or they may not believe the same things you do, or look at the world the way you do. So I think we need to strive to really look for the best qualities in each person, and not just the ones that we see that might be different, might be kind of negative. Because I know none of us is perfect, so I think we all can kind of strive to try to just put ourselves in their shoes and have a little bit more empathy for each other. And that, I think, will lead to more love, and I think we'll also reach more people for Christ that way, by just kind of being there for them, being there, being as someone that they can talk to, being someone that they can rely on and trust, and just kind of be strong for your friends, your family, and people you come in contact with, and just kind of being someone reliable they know they can go to and always be there for them and stuff. I think that brings more people to the Lord than just trying to, go about it the back way, maybe a little bit more. Not necessarily judgmental.
Yeah,
but,
that reminds me actually one of a wow, that was so grammatically incorrect. One of the spiritual exercises that I did for one of the classes that we had here, it's called Intro to Christian Living, and it was the no judgment spiritual exercise. And surprisingly, I don't like to think of myself as a judgmental person. I really don't. Like, I try so hard not to be judgmental. But, if you're just walking in the grocery store and then all of a sudden you see somebody who probably should not be wearing a certain thing or shouldn't be saying a certain thing, you're kind of like,
judging them in a way, not meaning
You're
to, but
doing
it
your
just
heart
kind
though
of like,
because it's a turnoff.
yes. So
Yeah.
like that exercise actually helped me a lot to realize how much I actually do it, like just mentally, like, but at
Yeah.
the same time, like, it's just like, holy poop.
Yeah, we
Why
all
did-
do it. Yeah.
Like nobody's innocent to it, but I would agree, like, it helps you realize, and I think that could be a realistic thing that people
Yep,
can do.
Yep. And I think we're all kind of guilty of it. So
Yep.
it's something that I sure need to get better at, and just trying to give everyone your time.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they know you can try to be trustworthy and show empathy and really give someone you never know what someone might be going through.
Yep.
They may talk to you about something, and you may not even realize it at the time. But if you're there and you show you're trustworthy and you show you can be reliable, they may open up to you, and you develop a new relationship, a new friendship, and by that avenue you lead more people to the Lord. So.
Yep. So great New Year's resolutions. Take our advice and saying more realistic ones,
Yep,
and having
yep.
a few unrealistic. And eventually those goals can become realistic
Yep,
ones if you take
yep.
it little at a time. But yeah, so coming into this new year, just kind of have like a more positive outlook on everything, and we just
Yep.
need to become more united.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
and just have your faith, because that's all
Yep.
that we can do right now and in
That's
this
right.
moment. We just need to all come together once again, and I think that we'll have a fantastic year. I mean, we saw the Star of Bethlehem this year.
Yeah.
Come on, like,
Yeah. That started
that's
something
already
new. Yeah.
that's already just a huge sign and huge
Yeah.
relief of something starting that is just going to bring so much positivity and just newness.
That
It's a whole
signifies
new
something
beginning.
new. 2,000 years ago, it signified the birth of something new, and
Yep.
it can do the same thing for us if we accept it.
Yep. So just continue to grow and just continue to be more positive and just
Yeah.
be less judgmental, or
Yep.
at least become more aware of how you can help somebody and be more beneficial to somebody versus you being turned off by them and not understanding what's going on in their life.
Yep.
So yeah,
Very good.
if you guys have any New Year's resolutions by any means, let us know with our hashtag Talking with Friends, and
Yep.
we'll get to that next time, because it's always fun talking about New Year's
It
resolutions.
is.
It
Whether
is
they
so
happen
much
or
fun.
not, it's fun talking about it.
Yeah. And then maybe let us know, is that resolution still going on or
Yeah.
not? Because, I mean, hey,
Realistic,
no judgment
unrealistic.
here.
Yeah, who
Because
knows?
trust me, we've all done it. We've
Yeah.
all done it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
We've all had a goal and then just never got back to it, you know?
That's right.
So, and
That's
there's
right.
nothing wrong with that.
All right. Very good stuff, Morgan, for the new year. Very good devotion. Very applicable. Very relevant to
Oh,
now.
no, that wasn't actually supposed to be the devotional, but yeah.
Oh, you're going into that? Okay. Take
Well,
out.
Here, we'll piggyback off of it a little bit more.
Yep.
So, again, all devotionals come from podcast, Big Life Podcast with Pamela Krem. Super amazing. If you have a chance to listen to it, go for it. I mean, you're already on podcast now, right? I mean, not everybody, but you know what I mean. Like, you're already listening on a podcast. Just go ahead. You just look her up. Good times, always fun. But, like, a couple days ago, she had a podcast labeled... oh, dang it, what was it? I literally just listened to it again today, and I'm drawing a blank. Wow, this is kind of sad. But, hang on. Do we quit here? That's what it was called. And this, going into, like, the whole, like, New Year's resolution. Obviously, New Year, we're starting at humble beginnings. We're wanting to bring back hope. So you probably, like, a lot of people probably did have some sort of resolution to this year, to this new year, just because of how last year went. So now everybody's kind of like, okay, we want new hope. We want new beginnings, right? Well, you also have to think, this is why I also brought up unrealistic goals, is because do we quit here? When are you going to quit? And should you quit? You know, like the whole workout thing. Okay, I'm going to work out. I'm going to get better. I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to live my best life, right? Well, how long does that actually last?
usually not very long, you know? And that's not being judgmental, that's not being anything, and they just usually really don't last that long. And she brought up I would hardcore believe, I agree with her, super amazing verse to start out every single year with, Galatians 6:9.
Yes, very good verse.
Or Galatians 6:9. Sorry, my bad.
It's Galatians 6:9.
That's what I thought.
Very good.
I've heard it pronounced either way. So, but however you pronounce it, it's on you. But you know what it is. And it's, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So, what are the harvests you are wanting to plant? What are you wanting to harvest? What are the goals you are wanting to harvest? Is it, okay, I want to be healthier? Is it, I want to grow more in my faith? Is it, I want to be kinder? Is it, I want to be more financially stable? Whatever it is, what are you going to harvest? Because whatever you are going to harvest, do not give up on it. Don't just think about that. If you were in the first week of your whole entire harvest or a resolution, if you want to reap the reward and reap the success of that harvest and taste the amazingness of that harvest, you can't give up on it. You can't quit here. Just imagine if you started it and you stuck by it every single day until the summer. Where would you be at? Would you have that great summer bod with your healthiness and stuff? Would you just be able to be more financially stable to where you can travel more, or you can just be able to provide so much more for your family or for yourself? Would you just be able to praise God every single day, which I hope that many of you do anyways? But if you don't, hey, that's on you, you know? But, I mean, no judgment at all, because I understand. I understand it's hard sometimes. But we all have to choose what harvest we want to be successful in. But we also have to sacrifice a different harvest. That's kind of where it gets a little tough. You have to pick and choose what you want to harvest new, but you have to give up something. And that's where we struggle as to when we're going to quit. If you want to be more financially stable, don't go to Starbucks every single day. Don't buy a new pair of leggings that you really and truly badly want, but you really want to be more financially stable so you can do something better with that money. You got to give something in order to reap the reward of a new harvest. Is it, I want to be more motivated and wake up every single day, like on time, be just better? Well, you have to give up sleeping longer. And trust me, I know I struggle with that because I love my sleep. I love sleep. But at the same time, that means I have to give up staying up later, which I'm a night owl, so that's really hard for me, you know? But, I mean, if that's something that I personally want to do, which is kind of something I want to do, it's not a goal by any means for me, at least right now, because I don't have school yet, but starting next week, yeah, it'll be a goal. But, you know, like, I'm going to want to sleep longer. I'm going to want to stay up later, but, I mean, average college kid usually does it. We go through this cycle, you know? But so that's something that we need to sacrifice. That is a harvest that we've already planted, that has been a rhythm. It's been a routine of ours for so long that can easily make us quit on this new harvest that's actually going to be way more successful, or it's going to have a way bigger reward in the end. And when are you going to quit? Are you going to quit now because working out is way too hard? I'd rather just lay in bed and not do anything. Or are you going to be successful? I'm going to work out hard because I'm going to give up on this less motivation. I'm going to be way more motivated to work hard, to be working out, to eating healthy, eating right. I'm going to do this because it is such a way bigger and just, it's so bittersweet it's just an absolute amazing reward. And like for me personally, again, growing in my faith, I feel like I have already done that many times, but I can always improve on it. All of us can always improve on it. But in order for me to grow on my faith, I have to give up something in my past that made me struggle with my faith. I have to give up watching TV all day, and I have to read at least a chapter in my Bible. Or instead of, like, I don't even know exactly what I would give up for this, just being, I guess, more time management, and actually instead of doing something completely different, write down a scripture or a prayer every single day. You know, like, it's the little things in life that you can easily give up in order to be successful in this new harvest. And that's why I also brought up unrealistic and realistic goals. You have to have a realistic goal for yourself, because it's so, I know, I understand, it is so hard to give up and to sacrifice that one you're used to, one rhythmic, one routine-driven thing or harvest that you have already created to make this brand new harvest. So what we have encouraged in, it's still a devotion for sure, but it's more of like almost like a motivation or encouragement as well, or that's how I took it, to just, one, believe in yourself, and two, you have to, in order for you to reap the successfulness, you must sacrifice something. But that's in everything you do. And depending on how much you want to sacrifice is how big the new reward is. So just continue to think about that, continue to reap in that, continue to just constantly have that in the back of your mind as you're going into this new year and your New Year's resolutions, because I encourage everyone to always make a New Year's resolution. I really do. I think that they can be fun, but I also think that you need to be able to have some sort of successfulness to it, and everybody's different with how they're going to be successful in it. So in order to do that, you have to make a goal that's realistic to you, and you have to make a harvest that can be realistic, but you can also sacrifice something else to make that harvest happen. So yeah, that's it.
Very good. I love the way you tied that in too. Perfect devotion, perfect words for as we start a new year. And I'm really glad you went ahead and did that. I thought the first one was part of the devotion, but I'm really glad you had that, because it was just really awesome. And I love the verse you used, Galatians 6:9. It's one of my favorite verses, because if you notice, it says, "Do not be weary in doing good." So, because sometimes we think it's a good, even though we're doing the right thing, sometimes it can be a little frustrating if things don't work out the way we think it should at the time we think it should, because we're thinking, okay, God, I've done all this, I've done it forever now, and nothing seems to be happening. Well, it really doesn't matter what happens. We should never get tired of doing the right thing, of doing good. And it says you'll reap a harvest in due time. See, we love for a harvest to be here on earth, and God always takes care of us. He supplies our needs, and oftentimes it will be here on earth. But even if it's not, it'll be in heaven. Like at some point, you're going to get your harvest. You're not doing what is good before God is never going to go unrewarded. Whether it's on earth or it's in eternity, it's always going to be rewarded. It's never going to be forgotten by God. So we don't ever have to get tired or be weary of doing good and what we're supposed to do to get closer to God, what He wants us to do, because He's always going to take care of us. So.
Nothing happens overnight. I'm sorry. Nothing is going to happen overnight. One of my favorite artists, his name is Aaron Watson. He tried so many years for so long to be successful as he is now. And one of my favorite songs by him, it's called Fence Post, and it's him kind of telling his journey as to his career in a way. Like, he started at a young age, obviously, and one of the verses that he said, or one of the verses in the song, because this is actually true, he became an overnight sensation in just over 10 years.
Wow. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite verses because
Yeah.
it's so true. Even though at the beginning of his journey he wanted to quit, he wanted to give up, didn't want to do music anymore. And I mean, you can also think Willie Nelson too. Like, how old was Willie Nelson when he finally made the big time, right?
Yeah.
So, but he never gave up on it. Like, he had a producer in Tennessee straight up tell him he just doesn't have what it takes to make it here.
Yeah.
And after one of his gigs, after 10 years, after like he became like a sensation, finally hit the big time, that same producer actually came back to him and was like, hey, you have what it takes, we want to do it. And he turned him down because he's like, no, all I need is my faith, my friends, and my family. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. And he's still, to this day, is his own producer. Him and his band straight up produce on their own. They don't have anybody with them. And
isn't that something? Wow.
It's just absolutely amazing. So if that's not just like one kind of inspiring story,
It is.
then I mean,
Stick with it.
yeah, you just have to stick with it because I mean, sure, being a big time musician, okay, that's not everybody's goal. I get that. But I mean, it just shows that if you continue to work hard, you continue to not grow weary in doing something that you are good at and just something that is good for the community that you're in. You know, like, it just shows that eventually the reward happens.
Yeah.
It eventually will happen. And like you said, it might not happen here on earth.
Yeah.
Some people are just lucky and it does, you know?
Yeah.
Other times you have to wait until you're in heaven and God will reward you. I promise you that.
Yep.
You will reap in the reward, and sometimes the reward is heaven.
Yep. All right, good stuff.
Sorry, continue.
Our great great podcast for the first one of the year for us. We will be back at you again next week. We'll be recapping the NFL Super Wildcard games, previewing the divisional round, talking about what happens between Alabama and Ohio State National Championship game. Also talking about what our women's basketball team has done, and our men's basketball team will play Wednesday night as well.
Yep.
Don't forget, tomorrow, 1 o'clock p.m. here, Bethel College, tip-off. Watch it on portal.stretchinternet.com/friend. The link is on our website. We hope you'll tune in. And Morgan, I think it's my turn to pray this
It is
week.
your turn to pray,
You knew that, so I'm going to take care of that. So I want to pray us out real quick. Lord, we're thankful for another new year, another opportunity to serve you. We're thankful for this university and for what we get to do, to serve you. I'm very thankful for Morgan and what she does for us, with me, and for her growth in you, and just continue to use her, bring her closer to you, and help her to bring people close to you as well. We ask that you keep a protective hand upon us and just allow us to continue to navigate and use discernment, give us wisdom for what you would have us to do here. And we're thankful for the mission that we have, and just continue to use us for your mission, to spread your word and the people who need it, and keep a protective hand upon us always. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Again, tomorrow, 1 o'clock p.m. versus Bethel. Here, that's going to do it. We're thankful for everyone that tuned in. We will talk to you again next week, same time, same place, next Friday, 1 o'clock. We hope you have a great weekend. Talk to you then.